And there, welcome back to AutoNet. So today I want to talk a little bit about adding custom actions into your pop-ups and then doing some pretty cool stuff with them. So a custom action is basically in the pop-up a custom button like this zoom to button here. So this zoom to button is an action in the pop-up. So this is pretty much just being able to add your own buttons that can do things when you click on something with the pop-up. And you can actually grab the selected feature from the pop-up and do some pretty cool stuff with it. So if you look over here, I've already brought in a bunch of the modules I'll be using in here. I'm going to need to create a graphic. I'm going to do some cool stuff with the geometry engine, and I need my some symbol helpers here to create some new symbology. But first off, let's go ahead and create our custom actions. So I'll do that. Where am I going to do that? Let's do it over here after the view. I'm going to call this action buff action, right? So as you can guess, I'm going to want to create a buffer around a point that I create, and I'll do something with that buffer. So I've got my custom action there, and then what I want to do is in the view itself is, so I'll just do it like this. On the pop-up for the view, you want to add this buff action object. So the pop-up has an actions array. You can just push in an object that go into that array, and I get my nice button here. So far, I'm not doing anything with it. I just got a button that's empty, right? So what I need to do then is I need to do something when I click on that. And you can do that with the little event on the view. If I'll come down here and do it after I add my layer. There we go. So I'm going to listen for an event called trigger action on the pop-up. When that event occurs, it's going to shoot an event back that has an action object on it, and I'm going to want to do something with that action object. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so what I want to do is that when the action ID is equal to the ID of the action I'm interested in this case buffer, because I gave it an ID buffer over here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do something, right? So what do I want to do? So in my case, what I want to do is I want to take this data, click on this buffer point, and I want to do a buffer around this one point to find all the features that are within, let's say, 5 kilometers of that point. Right, so there's a couple of ways you could actually end up doing this. You could actually do a query on the layer itself and just tell it that the distance is going to be 5 kilometers, but then I actually want to get the buffered geometry and display it in here to show that, no, I've got a ring here that is going to be 5 kilometers I'm going to display. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to need to use the geometry engine. So I'm going to be messing with the graphics in my application. So what I want to do is, first thing, clear all the graphics from the view. So view.graphics.remove all. That's going to clear everything. Next thing I want to do is I want to do some geometry engine stuff. So I'm going to grab the selected feature off of the pop-up of the view, and I'm really interested in the geometry of the selected feature. So I'm going to take the geometry off that selected feature. Then I'm going to create a buffer using geometry engine. I'm going to use the geodesic buffer method. Give it the geometry, tell it 5 is the distance, kilometers are the units, right? So that part is not too difficult. A part that's pretty cool though, that is new in 4x, well, it's not new in 4x, but it's new to 4x. It's a little different than what you might have done with 3x, is that you can actually get the query by asking the layer to create the query, right? So I do layer.createQuery. And what this is going to do is it's going to have all of the definition expressions and stuff that might have been applied to the layer ahead of time, so that your query is going to honor all of those features like the definition expression. It's not going to override anything. So it's just a nice shortcut. So you don't have to bring in the query support module and stuff, and it's just easy to write. So I'll get my query. I'm going to set the geometry of the query to the buffer. Spatial relationship is going to be intersects. And then I'm going to go ahead and run this layer.query features here, right? So I don't need that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of things here. And layer that query features returns a promise. So what I want to do here is that when I get the results of this query, I'm going to have a result object with a features property on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the graphic for the buffer geometry. So this big circle in here. So that's what this does here. Create a buffer graphic with the geometry from my buffer that I got from Geometry Engine up here. And I'm going to give it the symbology I predefined way at the top, just it's empty circle with a red outline. And then I'm going to assign a symbol to the points that were returned from this query features. Because what you get back from the query are graphics. They just don't have symbology yet. So I can apply a simple marker symbol that I have for that. That's just going to be an outline of a red outline that's going to go around these points. And then I'm just going to go ahead and tell the views graphics there that I want to add many. I'm going to pass an array in here. I'm going to pass the buffer graphic. And I do a little destructuring here on the features so that it's not a nested array in here. And we're good to go. And any errors will get logged out in my console in here. Okay, so let's click on something here. Click on buffer. And there we go. I was able to go ahead and I ran that query on my single point that was in here, and I found I created a buffer of 5 kilometers, and I went ahead and selected all the features that were within 5 kilometers there, and then displaying them on my map. Now if I click over here, do buffer, it erases or removes those graphics that I had there in the view graphics, and now I have a new area that I buffered over here. So I got some new points, and I can just keep doing that. And you can see how that could be, that's a fairly useful thing to do. So that's how you can do custom actions inside the pop-up. And you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. You can pretty much do just about anything you want inside here with these custom action buttons to do stuff. It's a really useful feature to add some nice functionality to your pop-ups. Thanks.